Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where we aim to answer your bike, tech, maintenance-related questions. As ever, you can submit your questions down below in the comments section using the hashtag askgcntech, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them in the allotted time.
Right, I was going to say allotted time, but... Right, Conrad first. With their question, they say, I thought cross-chaining was bad. Pogačar, clearly in the big ring after his attack on the final climb on stage 15 of the Tour, with 2 question marks.
Good spot. He was cross-chaining a lot, which scarily makes you think, God, he would have gone even faster if he'd actually not been cross-chaining.
I think what we're doing, we're looking at one tiny little thing in isolation here. There'll be a reason for that, and it's because he's determined that he wanted to be in the large chainring to move like slightly further down the cassette at some point. I don't think he's like just riding in that gear for a very long period of time.
Yeah, and you know, a large part of it as well is like, it's within a race situation, racers often don't want to do that shift at the front.
Yeah.
And you will often just then, you know, battle through in staying in the big ring and like big ring a small climb or something like that.
Yeah.
Because there is a slight loss in distance when you do a change. And that's one of the reasons why, as group sets evolve and with the latest like Shimano 12 speed and stuff, they are expanding that range you get on the cassette for that reason.
Yeah, there you go, interesting. Chiggy Wiggy Woo 9749, what bike pedal/cleat system would you say is the easiest to unclip from? Following Achilles surgery as a kid, I've reduced strength and movement in one ankle. Don't want to waste money on a system that I would struggle to get out of. Right, first thing I would do is, you've got 2 options here. There's ones that have got an adjustable tension to them, like lots of Shimano pedals. You can back the tension right off on the pedal system, making it easier to unclip from.
Wahoo Speed Play as well.
They make
them real floaty.
They can be really floaty, but also they do a low tension cleat, which is even easier to unclip from as well. So there's a couple of different options there. But basically, I think you're going to be okay as long as you choose a pedal system that gives you an option of backing that tension off, or a specific cleat that's supposed to be easy release.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Right, come on, next question.
Next question is from Craig Nitolo 3040, who says, I would like to know more about rim depth. What do the pros ride? What should the average rider/weekend race attempt be using on the road? Is 80 too much? And does it affect me in the hills? Do I look outlandish?
80 is too much for your average rider, I'm going to say.
You reckon?
Yeah. I'm sorry, but if you got one wheel set to use all the time, 80 deep boys, too overkill.
I think it depends.
Okay.
So if you do just want pure sort of time trial speed performance, like undoubtedly the deeper you can go, the better. If you're then racing in mountainous places, then yeah, like you probably want to be shallower. It's the problem comes with the pros, and why they don't always go super deep all the time, even on flat stages, is because they also need to be able to get dressed and eat and ride no-handed. And when you've got 80s in, riding no-handed becomes quite difficult.
Yeah, it catches the crosswind significantly.
Yeah, and so a more all-round depth. And not just riding no-handed, it's the stability of that wheel in the bunch. It's like if you're in a bunch and suddenly you catch a bit of wind with a big wheel, it can cause a crash. So it's that stability as well.
I'm going to say from my personal experience and from the sort of trend I think we're seeing across the industry, 45-50 can be seen as like the average all-rounder kind of depth.
Yeah.
Go a bit deeper, a bit more aero gains, go a bit shallower, a bit lighter, and a bit more responsive and stable in the crosswind, I guess.
And we're definitely seeing a lot of riders who, you know, are trying to win the sprints, and also riders targeting breakaways on flat stages in the Tour using 60s. I'm not really seeing 80s, but 60s are used
that's pretty common.
Whereas, everyone else, the standard 45-50.
Okay, right. Travis Thurston 5857 next. They say, I have a steel frame and an aluminium seat post. I know you have to put something in between the seat post and frame so they don't get stuck together. The problem is that now my seat post keeps slipping down. I've cranked them up to the max Newton meters, slightly above the recommended, they say, but it's only a short-term solution. What is the long-term solution here? Thanks. Fiber grip or grip paste is going to be your friend here. It's going to effectively grease with small little particles in it to help the two surfaces grip together, and the grease will stop them corroding. Pretty simple,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's designed mostly for carbon fibre components, but it will have the same effect.
One issue can be, and I'm not saying this is the case on your bike, but it does happen I've known it to be an issue, is sometimes, for whatever reason, the tolerances on the seat post and the frame are just both
Opposite
out.
ends.
Yeah, opposite ends.
Yeah.
And so you just have a seat post that just goes whoop every time it goes in.
I've just thought of an additional thing you could do.
In which case, that's kind of like a warranty issue, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or maybe get a different seat post.
It depends on what kind of setup you've got. If you've got a bit of an older bike and it is a little bit scuffed up here and there, the surface of the aluminium seat post on the section that's tucked away in the frame, you could actually rough that up a little bit, so it gets a bit of a better purchase on there. Okay, next question.
From Graham Blundell, who says, is it possible to recondition a cassette? If yes, well, then how?
I'm kind of going to say no. We actually discussed this earlier, didn't we? In theory, I'm going to say it's possible that you could replace one or two sprockets that are worn out if you can get hold of them. But it kind of feels counterproductive because the rest of the cassette's going to worn at a different rate, and I just don't think it's something that we should be advising people to do.
No, I think it's a no. I think the prevention is better than the cure.
Yeah.
So, by properly maintaining your chain and having a chain checker tool, so you're staying on top of chain wear, so that because that's what destroys your cassette. When your chain gets worn, and then a worn chain wears the cassette faster. So if you're changing your chain when before it is too worn, that will prolong the life of your cassette.
Cassettes will last ages if you replace the chain properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And your chain will last longer if you wax it.
There you go. I knew you'd get chain wax in there
of course
somewhere. Arnie next with two questions here, but the best case is the first answer solves the second problem. So they're using Silka tubeless milk. They're very happy with it, but after a few weeks, it tends to stick to the valve and they can no longer inflate their tyres. So their solution is to remove the valve cores and reinflate the tyre again. Do you have any ideas of that problem? No, I don't have a solution to that, and I actually do have the same problem. The sealant's just super effective at plugging up punctures.
Yeah, I think one of the things you can do is take the valve core out and then have some kind of little pipe cleaner.
Like a pick or something?
Like a pipe cleaner, and
yeah.
then just use a pick might go through the tyre.
Oh, yeah.
But a pipe cleaner down the valve core and just, ramrod it.
Yeah, you can also buy, if it's actually the valve core itself that's blocked, you can actually buy replacement valve cores. They're kind of like a pretty low-cost item. And then the second point is that their mock-off tubeless rim tape seems to not be that pressure-resistant and gets pushed into the holes for the spokes so much that when they inflate the tyre with a booster, it's difficult to get them to seal up again. They've changed the rim tape a few times. Please help is effectively what they're saying.
Yeah.
Different rim tapes you'll get different experiences with, and you can also try doing an extra layer of rim tape to help alleviate that problem.
You can do. One thing as well, though, when you're saying you're reseating your tyres, I just want to point this out, is a lot of people have struggled to reseat a tubeless tyre on one that's already been set up. And that's because there's just extra friction in the system, because you've got dried on sealant underneath the bead and on the rim tape. And so if you think about it, you want minimal friction there, because you want the bead to slide against the rim tape and then pop into the rim area. And so that can cause problems. So if you are going to then clean your valves out, it's better to not unseat the tyre. You should be able to do it without unseating the tyre and do my ramrod method.
Good point. Right, last question this week is from Freddie Energizer. They say they're not a bike expert, but using two chains sounds like a great idea, technically speaking. But technically speaking, you should just use one chain, and the chain and the teeth of your cassette, after a certain time, will wear to each other. If you change one of the two, there's going to be more wear and tear, and both will last less long. I'm not quite understand this question.
So basically, he's asking that, because we basically advocate using two chains.
Yeah.
It's a good strategy, because you can basically tag team your chains in and out. So you can have a wax chain.
Yeah,
and then you take that one off, and then you put your fresh one on, you re-wax the other one, and then when that one's done, you've instantly got a chain to go on.
Okay.
Or if you've got an event or a race or a big ride, a special thing you've been training for, you've got your fresh chain ready to go for that.
Okay, I see his point now. He's saying if you're rotating chains, is one not going to wear at a different rate to the other? Well, no, I think it's all going to be even, provided that you don't leave one chain on there for absolutely ages. It's all going to work as one system together.
Yeah, and the point that I think we need to explain here to Freddie is that it kind of becomes a tipping point. So yes, the chain is wearing all of the time, correct, and there is slight wear on the cassette all of the time. But once a chain goes past a certain threshold, the wear on the cassette becomes accelerated. So what you do is you have as we mentioned on a previous question, you make sure you invest in a chain checker, which is a really cheap, cost-effective bit of kit to have, that you can simply use to, Park Tool make an excellent little pressed laser cut piece of metal. It's just a piece of metal, easy. And what you do is you stay on top of that, checking your chain stretch, and make sure that you change your chain and stop using a chain before it reaches a certain point, because once it reaches that point, the wear on the cassette will accelerate.
Yeah, I think that's cleared it up. Okay, right, as always, if we didn't answer your question, I'm sorry, but be persistent and we'll get to it in the coming weeks. Right, we're out of here. See you later.
Love you, bye.
Bye.